I accidentally stole my sister-in-law's spotlight at her engagement party announcement? Well, I didn't mean to be the bearer of bad news that I'm pregnant, but apparently it is bad news to everyone because they're jealous. Well, you won't believe what they tried to do to me.
Sharing my big news with the rest of our family should have been a happy affair, right? Then I don't know why it seemed to turn into the worst nightmare of my life, leaving me furious out of my mind. Let me start this off probably before I explode because of all the pent-up anger and frustration. I'm Valerie, 31, and the big news I mentioned above, I'm a few weeks pregnant. Me and my husband Josh only recently found out about the pregnancy, and we could not have been any happier. I mean, we've been trying for some time now, so obviously it was one of the happiest moments of our lives when we found out that I was finally pregnant. Though we had not told anyone from Josh's family or my family until yesterday. And honestly, after what happened yesterday, I regret ever announcing my news to Josh's family. Well, because things got a bit crazy. Before I get into what actually happened last night, let me give you a little briefing about Josh's family and my equation with them. So, Josh's family is as normal as it gets. He has loving parents, Martha and Bernard, and a younger sister, Georgina. Though his parents are alright, I've never had a particular reason to not like them. But his sister is completely something else. Georgina is someone who perfectly defines an entitled attention seeker. She's one of those girls who can't handle sharing their limelight as she feels that everyone's attention should be on her at all times. You can understand why I don't like her much, and try to keep my distance from her usually. Also, the fact that her mother supports her blindly does not help my cause. So this is the one reason why I'm not particularly close with my in-laws. I mean, my father-in-law Bernard seems to be a great man, but with him comes the whole package, his wife and his daughter, so I try to stay out of their way usually. But that doesn't mean that I don't talk to them or visit them, it's just that all these visits and calls are only on holidays and occasions. It's very rare for us to catch up without a particular reason, so you can guess why I must be a bit surprised when my mother-in-law Martha hosted a family dinner last night. It was not an elaborate affair and was just supposed to be the close family. You know, me, Josh, his sister, and his parents. Normally, I would not have wanted to go to this dinner because of all of Georgina's crazy antics, and how her mother dotes on her no matter what she does. But with the recent news in my mind, I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to break the news of my pregnancy to them. I mean, both me and Josh had been planning to organize a family get-together, or something to tell them since the moment we got to know each other. So this was like a chance offered on a silver platter. So this one thing was the only reason I agreed to go to this dinner without any reluctance. But obviously it could not be as simple as that, right? At the last minute, Josh had some work emergency, due to which he could not make it to the dinner, so I had to go there all alone since I could not cancel last minute. Bernard also could not come down from his room since he was not feeling well and was already asleep by the time I arrived there. So in the end, it was me having dinner with the two people I liked the least from Josh's family. To think that this was a nightmare in itself, just wait till you hear about what actually happened. Before the dinner, Josh had texted me to go ahead and announce my pregnancy to his family, even though he wasn't there because he could not wait further to tell them the happy news. I was a bit reluctant to break the news to them, without Josh being present, but since he wanted it done this way, I went ahead. And during the dinner, while all of us were busy chatting, I broke the news to Martha and Georgina. You would normally expect people to be happy, get up, maybe hug you and say their congratulations, right? Well, this was exactly what I had expected from my in-laws, but unfortunately what happened next was the complete opposite of this. As soon as I broke the news of my pregnancy to Martha and Georgina, expecting them to be happy for me, the look on Georgina's face changed into fury all of a sudden, and I could sense a temper tantrum coming. But I did not expect it to be so bad that it would leave me burned, quite literally. Apparently, just like me, Georgina had plans for the night to break her big news to everyone, and by announcing my pregnancy before her, I unintentionally stole the spotlight from her. I mean, how was I supposed to know that she had just gotten engaged to her recent boyfriend and was going to announce it at the same dinner where I planned to announce my pregnancy? But of course, Georgina did not understand any of this and took the whole thing as my deliberate attempt to steal the spotlight. This is why, as soon as the words about my pregnancy left my mouth, Georgina got all angry, shouting at me for stealing her spotlight as she was just about to announce her engagement. She went all crazy at me and continued shouting while I just sat there on the other end quietly, until Georgina and her anger pushed the table towards me, leading to the whole bowl of hot soup falling on my thigh. No sooner did the soup touch my skin than I started feeling the burning sensation. Georgina's outburst left me not only humiliated but physically hurt. And you know the surprising part, Martha, who had been nervously trying to manage the situation, seemed to be more concerned about calming Georgina than addressing my pain. Like, can you believe it? Your pregnant daughter-in-law just burned her thigh because of your crazy daughter's outburst, and all you care about is how to calm your daughter's anger? That's gotta be some next-level insanity, come on. While Martha was busy trying to calm Georgina down, I just got up to wash my burn and get ice for it. By the time I came back, Georgina had finally calmed down, and as soon as she saw me, the fake acting started. Both Georgina and Martha were acting all concerned about my thigh, and Georgina was profusely apologizing about how it had been an accident, and she did not mean to hurt me or anything. Martha, in her Oscar-winning performance, went even one step ahead and got some burn ointment for me from her room. But, of course, I wasn't buying any of their stupid acting. I mean, one minute Georgina was throwing temper tantrums at me and even burning me in the process, and Martha was all busy calming her down. And now they're worried for me? Am I supposed to buy that crap? And soon I realized why they were acting like that. Because there was only one reason, and that was Josh. This became clear to me when Josh returned late at night and I told him about the entire dinner fiasco. Apparently, Georgina had already called him and convinced him that it was all an accident. Josh seems to believe this and even apologized on his sister's behalf. He told me that he had reprimanded his sister for the same, and both his sister and mother were feeling really sorry for whatever happened. But this was not enough for me. I know that this whole "it was an accident" thing was a lie, and Georgina intentionally did it just because she could not handle the fact that I had stolen her limelight, as she claimed. I mean, that's so stupid because I didn't even know about the dang thing, and she can keep her spotlight for all I care. So this is the situation right now. The rest of the family's trying to move on from this, saying it was an accident, but I can't seem to do so. The incident of last night is still fresh in my mind, and it makes me furious every time I think about it. I mean, it's not just me that she's put at risk, it's also about the baby. What if this whole thing had been further out of control and had harmed the baby in some way? I mean, I can't let Georgina get out of this so easily, making it seem like a simple mistake as everyone else is seeing it to be. She needs to be taught a lesson because she just can't keep trampling on other people and things don't go her way. And this is what brings me here. No matter how hard I tried, I'm unable to let the anger out of my mind. I want to teach Georgina a lesson of her lifetime and make her pay for what she did. But here's where I'm out of ideas and need some help. I honestly don't know how to do it. I also don't want to blow things out of proportion. This is the reason why I wanted to get an outsider's perspective on the whole thing. So what do you guys think? Am I blowing things out of proportion, and should I just let the whole thing go as a, quote, accident? Or am I right in wanting to teach Georgina a lesson for what she did? I would really appreciate some opinions here and also some ideas of what to do next. Please help me out. Comment number 1. Honestly, OP, it sounds like you might be reading too much into what, well, I don't know, was probably just an unfortunate accident. Sure, Georgina's reaction was over the top, but holding on to this grudge and trying to make it into a big issue than it was might not be the best move. Sometimes letting things go and focusing on the positives can be more beneficial, especially with a new baby on the way. It might be worth trying to move past this and not let it overshadow your happiness. Anyways, that's my spiel. Update number 1. So guys, I did something and it might have come back to bite me in the back. It's been a few days since my initial post, and a lot of you might remember how angry I was because of what my entitled sister-in-law Georgina did to me when I announced my pregnancy. Well, I had asked you guys whether I should let it go or if I should teach her a lesson. A lot of you felt that Georgina needed to be shown her place and had to face the consequences for what she did. Many of you even suggested a lot of ideas, and I'm honestly grateful for that. There were people who told me to tell Georgina's fiancé about the whole thing, as he might be able to understand the whole situation better and make sure Georgina learns her lesson since he was the closest to her. I did exactly that, but it went a little different from what I could have imagined. So I had met Georgina's fiancé Kyle only once or twice, but now at family parties since they had not been dating for too long. Though I'd noticed Georgina acted pretty different around Kyle. I didn't actually know that she would have pretended to be a completely different person in front of him, but I was soon faced with reality when I went to Kyle's house, where Georgina had been staying for the past a few months. I'd specially chosen a time when I knew Georgina would be out of her job so that I could talk to Kyle without her crazy looming presence. But when I talked to Kyle about what happened, he straight away refused to believe any of it. And that's when I got to know that Georgina had been a completely different person in front of Kyle. He said to me how his quiet and shy Georgina could not even raise her voice at someone, let alone push the table at her own sister-in-law. Apparently, Georgina had faked the whole quiet, innocent girl who could not even hurt a fly sort of personality in front of Kyle. That is why he was having a hard time believing that she could have done something like that in her temper tantrum. That's when I showed Kyle the chat between me and Georgina, where she was constantly telling me to forget about the whole thing and she was just angry at me for stealing her limelight. She had sent all those messages to me along with a few half-hearted apologies and a few messages asking me not to drag the whole thing more than it needs to be. All these chats were enough to clarify what really happened that night, and how Georgina had lost her calm on me in the craziest and most violent way possible. But what Kyle did next was really unexpected. When Kyle finally believed the whole thing, he realized he's been dating a girl who's been fake to him from the very get-go, since Georgina was nothing that he thought her to be. He was really shocked at this and told me how he could not stay with someone so violent. This was totally unexpected. I mean, I expected Kyle to do something to set Georgina straight, but the fact that he wanted to break up with her because of her violent personality was surprising. I mean, Kyle breaking up with Georgina was never part of my plan, but I couldn't help but feel a bit relieved about it since someone as good as Kyle honestly deserved far better than Georgina, and this might be the perfect way to teach Georgina the lesson that she needs. With this, I just left Kyle's house, leaving him alone to make his decision. Soon enough, Kyle, true to his words, had not only broken up with Georgina, but also tossed her out of the house. How do I know this, huh? Because within a few minutes of Kyle throwing Georgina out, she shows up at my front door, crying and begging for me to take her in. Georgina told Josh how Kyle had broken up with her and thrown her out of the house because of all that I told him. She blamed me for the whole thing, and told me that I had to help her since I was the one responsible for this. Now, do you see how my revenge idea just came back to bite me in the back? I mean, there was no way I was taking this witch into my house. But here is where I'm stuck. Josh wants to help his sister since he feels she is pretty miserable and doesn't have anywhere else to go because his parents' house doesn't have enough space for her to stay. And currently she doesn't have the money to rent a hotel or anything, but I'm skeptical about the whole idea. Last night, Josh rented a hotel room for Georgina, telling her that we needed some time to think about it and would let her know our decision by today. I really appreciate how Josh is trying to prioritize me over his sister in the entire thing, as he has also left the whole decision to me. I know it should be an easy decision, but Josh really wants to help his sister, as she has absolutely nowhere that she can go, and I don't want to upset him. So I'm asking you guys, what should I do? Should I actually help Georgina and let her stay for some time, or should I just simply refuse to help her in any way? Update number 2. Hey guys, I'm back with an update. Well, just so you know, it's been more than a week since the last one, and things have taken an absolute nasty turn. So let me just pick up where I laid it down. You must remember that in the last update, I was trying to figure out whether to let Georgina stay in our house or not. Well, after much consideration with Josh's insistence, I eventually agreed to let Georgina stay with us for a short while, and right now I could not regret my decision anymore. I mean, at that time, it seemed like the right decision since Josh felt it was important to help his sister, especially given her current situation, and I didn't want to cause tension between us by refusing. It was even going well for a few days as things seemed to settle into a somewhat awkward but manageable routine until yesterday. So yesterday, all of a sudden, I started feeling unusually unwell. At first, I thought it might just be stress or something minor, but when the symptoms worsened, I decided to visit the doctor, and what I got to know was honestly shocking. To my horror, the doctor informed me that I ingested a pill, termination. Thankfully, the doctors were able to counteract its effects since I had taken it relatively recently and the baby is fine. But hearing this news left me completely stunned and confused. I couldn't understand for the life of me how something like this could happen. The only person who had recently moved into our house was Georgina, which naturally led me to suspect her. I was in a state of disbelief at this point. I wasn't really sure how to confront Georgina directly without any concrete proof. So instead of jumping to conclusions and making accusations, I decided to gather some proof, and this is why. When Georgina went to her workplace today, I decided to go into her room and search for anything that might give me proof of what she was up to. After searching, I found a small stash of pills, hidden in one of her drawers. These pills matched the description of what the doctor said I took. I also did a little Google-y search, and it gave me exactly the answer I suspected, and it was indeed what I thought it was. My heart sank as I realized the gravity of what I found. Now, I'm left wondering why Georgina would do something like this. Was it purely out of spite for me and the baby? Is this revenge for how I broke her relationship up? Or is this another motive behind her actions? I know I need to confront Georgina about this, but I'm still struggling with how to approach the situation and what exactly to say. The last thing I want is to make things more complicated than they already are. But one thing is for certain. I'm not letting Georgina go unscathed after this. She's crossed the lines of all limits of sanity. I mean, how cruel can you be? This is not just my baby, but also her brother's. And yes, I still haven't talked to Josh about it. I first want to confront Georgina and know why she would do something as horrible as this before I expose her to the rest of the family. Anyways, I'm planning to talk to Georgina as soon as she returns from her workplace tonight. I'll keep you updated on what happens next, but thank you all for the support and all the advice that you guys have given me so far. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's Valerie again. I'm back with what's probably the most shocking update yet. If you guys are wondering, it's been about a day since my last post, and to say that things have escalated would be the understatement of the century. I did exactly what I said I would do in my very last update. I confronted Georgina as soon as she got home from work, but the conversation that followed was something I could never have prepared for. So let me bring you guys up to speed with everything that happened last night. As soon as Georgina walked through the door, I didn't waste any time. I sat her down and I directly confronted her about the pills that I found inside of her room. She immediately went on the defensive mode, denying everything, saying she didn't know anything about the pills and that she would never do anything like that. Yeah, sure. I knew how good she was at pretending things, so I was not buying it even a bit. Every attempt she made at denying the whole thing only got me angry. After a few more denials from Georgina, I decided to raise the stake. I told her that if she did not come clean, I would go to her workplace and expose some things that would not only get her fired, but would probably land her in jail. You see, I had found some rather shady information about her dealings at work while I was searching her room earlier. I knew this would be my trump card, and sure enough it was. Guys, the moment I mentioned her job and the possible legal consequences, the color drained from her face, and I knew within an instant that I had her cornered. After a few minutes of Georgina sitting there too shocked to speak, she finally broke down and tells me the truth. But it wasn't at all what I expected. It turns out that Georgina wasn't the mastermind behind this whole mess. Can you guess who else could be the one behind this? Well, it was my darling mother-in-law, Martha. Georgina explained that her mother had been the one pushing her to get rid of the baby, and the reason behind it is far more horrible than I could have ever imagined. It turns out that my father-in-law is on his deathbed. This came as a complete shock to me because neither Josh nor I had any idea his health had deteriorated this bad. We knew he wasn't well, but Martha has been keeping the seriousness of his condition on the low. Now, here's where things get even more complicated. Bernard had made a will that stated that if he ever had a grandbaby, by the time he passed, his entire fortune would be transferred to that grandchild. If not, it would be divided equally between Martha, Georgina, and Josh. And that's when Martha found out I was pregnant, and she realized that the baby would take away her and Georgina's share of the inheritance, and that's why she was desperate to get rid of the baby. Can you believe it? My twisted mother-in-law was trying to get rid of my baby, all for the sakes of a bit of inheritance. All this time, I thought Georgina was the twisted one, but she was merely just following her mother's footsteps, thinking to get her share as well. It's all just making me feel sick. I mean, how desperate for money can someone be to try to get rid of your grandchild? I was literally shocked to the core. I had not expected this at all, not from Martha out of all people. I knew I had to do something, so I took the recording to the police. Yes, I've been recording the entire conversation with Georgina. I mean, I couldn't lose the opportunity to get this proof, am I right? The police took the recording and assured me that they would investigate the matter. I'm still in shock from all this, and I have not told Josh about any of it yet. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know it's one that I can't avoid. He deserves to know the truth about his mother and sister and about how they tried to harm our baby for the sake of money. I also need to talk to Bernard. I'm not sure how much time that he has left, but he needs to know what Martha has been plotting behind his back. I don't know how he'll react, but I hope that he can find some peace in his final days, knowing that his grandchild will be safe. So that's the situation right now. It's been a crazy night, and I'm still processing everything that's happened, and I'm trying to figure out what I should do next, but I will update you. Update number 4. This is it. Hey everyone, it's been a month, and let me tell you, things have taken a turn. I had to gather my thoughts before coming back here for the final update, because honestly I wasn't sure where to start. But I knew you all would want to know how things turned out, so here it is. After the confrontation with Georgina, I knew I had to talk to my husband and father-in-law, so I took my husband to see his dad. I'd already told Josh that Bernard's condition was worse than what he had been told, so that he would be prepared to meet his father in that condition. Once there, I laid the whole truth out in front of them, along with the recording that I had. To say both of them were shocked and disappointed would be an understatement, but Bernard was even more devastated than Josh. Both Josh and Bernard wanted to confront Martha and Georgina right at that moment, but I stopped them, telling them that I had taken care of the entire thing. I told them how soon the police would arrest Martha for her crimes, while I had taken a different approach for Georgina, and that's exactly what happened in the days that followed. Martha was arrested for her attempt to try to get rid of the baby, while I made sure Georgina was spared. I mean, firstly, she was merely just following her mother's orders, and secondly, I had something even more miserable planned for her. This entitled brat had a habit of having everything according to her, but now I had made sure that nothing went as per plan. I started with exposing Georgina's frauds at her workplace, though I had promised her that I would not do this if she tells the truth about the entire thing. Well, this resulted in her not only getting fired, but she also got sued by the company. This just killed any chance of her getting a decent new job. Next, I kicked her out of the house right after she told me the whole truth. So basically, Georgina was jobless and homeless with no one to rely on, because the last blow came when Bernard disowned her, and she was left all alone trying to grapple at any chance to make an ends meet. Bernard also cut off Martha entirely when she tried to get him to bail her out. So she's currently in jail, and by the way it looks, she would be facing a long sentence. As for me, I'm finally at peace, and my baby is doing fine. We can't wait for when it'll finally arrive. You know, even Bernard is excited for this new arrival, and I'm sort of happy that he's experiencing this joy in his last days. Well, anyways, that's it guys. My story's over. Thank you for all the support. Goodbye.